Hello there and welcome to another fly tying session with your host Scott. In this session we're going to be tying a pattern for beginners. This one's going to be called the basic buzzer, and also it's going to double up as a tutorial video to show people how to rib a fly. So for this pattern we're going to need any thread colour, it doesn't really matter, but in this case I've got an olive one. Black, red, orange, any colour you like will work really well, black in particular. Then for the ribbon material we're going to be using a holographic tinsel in gold. This one is by a company called Madeira. You can buy them from you can buy Madeira tinsels from sewing shops. They're not in tackle shops, but you can buy holographic tinsels from fishing tackle shops as well. Other ribbon materials that you could use are wires. You could use monofilament. You can use stripped peacock herl, pheasant tail fibres, anything that you can basically wind around the hook and that's fairly thin in profile you could use as a rib. So there we are. And the reason this is quite an important pattern to master as a beginner is because the buzzer, or chironomid as it's also known scientifically, makes up about 90% of a Stillwater trout's diet, as I've read somewhere anyway. So as a beginner fly tyer, it's very important to have a box of these and to be able to tie them in a jiffy. So this is a particularly simple and quick version of the buzzer. There are more complicated versions out there which involve different coloured threads, special thoraxes, special resins, you name it. You can do what you want with the buzzer, believe it or not, even though it literally looks like a painted hook when you're finished. Okay, so I've already gone over how to bed a hook. I've already gone over how to tie in materials, but we're going to do both of those next. So we're going to come in and bed the hook. We're going to start at the eye. We're only going to go so far, and then we're going to put the ribbon material in pretty early in the process. So we're going to trim this thread away. And we're going to get a piece of our gold tinsel and tie that in. Now to tie materials in, you basically just wrap the thread over the top of it. But sometimes it slips, so you have to just drop the tension slightly just to get it over the top of it. And then once it's in, you can start applying more turns. And we're just going to take the thread all the way down to where you want the fly to finish. In this case, it's just as the tighter bend of the hook towards the point starts. The hook point. About there. And then you take your time coming back up here because this part's going to be visible. Let's make sure everything's covered. And then there's a formula to building up the body of a buzzer, at least one I use anyway. I actually use 6 passes and no more of thread, and each pass gets gradually shorter each time. So you do 2 long passes, 2 full passes, which cover the entire section of the hook that you want to be visible. And then you do another 2 that are slightly shorter, probably about 2/3 of the hook. And then another 2 that cover about half of the hook. So this is our 3rd pass that we've just started now, and this one will just be 2/3 length. We'll stop about there. 2/3 to 3/4. And then we're starting our 4th pass that goes all the way back. This is so that you create a consistent thickness for the body. When I used to tie buzzers, I found that unless I followed a fixed formula, they'd either end up really thick or really thin, or there'd be loads of different. They just weren't consistent in my box. And I prefer quite a thin profile buzzer as well. So that's about halfway there. We'll stop again, and then this is your final pass. And you stop your final pass at the point where you want the thorax to start, which on my fly is about there. So it's almost equidistant between the point and the eye, if you look along that line there. So this video is also doubling up on how to rib. The rib material has been tied in at the base of the hook. So you want to basically wind it around the hook. It's quite easy to do really, but in this case I've chosen to use a buzzer pattern because it starts off at quite a steep angle where my finger is, and in order for it to not slip you have to put your finger there, so it's just an added step just to hold it in place and to keep the turns even. You would normally have to do that for the first 2 turns, and after that you'll probably go away with it. You have to keep a consistent tension on the tinsel. I'm going to have to do it a 3rd time, but keep a consistent tension on the tinsel and try and keep it so that the gap between the ribs is the same. Or in some cases, if you prefer, you can actually have it quite narrow to start with and get wider as you go up the body. Some people prefer to do that. And then to tie the material in, you just hold it up, bring the thread over the top and behind, and I normally do that 3 times, and that's enough to lock it in place. And then we're going to start building up our thorax. It's a similar thing to where we did the body, but I don't follow a set formula. I'll just keep going until it's, you know, the right shape. So you just keep adding thread in the area between the rib and the eye. Now I've chosen a size 10 hook for this one, the B100 size 10, mainly because beginners are going to want to tie on larger hooks to start with, but this pattern can be tied on anything from a size 6 down to a size 20 if you really wanted to, and that'll probably do us for the thorax. Also, if you haven't got any special buzzer hooks, which some beginners might not have, you can actually tie this pattern on just a normal straight shanked hook, and they will work as well. So we're going to whip finish. Now when I started out as a beginner, I actually half hitched, and I'll show you how you do that now. So you put a twist in your thread and create a loop, bring the loop up under the eye, hold it tight with the other hand, keep the loop open and bring your dubbing needle into the loop, which is off screen unfortunately. I'll bring it down so you can see what I'm doing, and then just bring it in like so, and I'll do that 3 times, but this is my preferred way of finishing, and if you are a beginner I suggest you might try and master this first. Put a half hitch in to lock it until you get good at it, because then it won't come undone. Look, I've let that go slack and it's not going to come undone. So you can play about with this as much as you like then. So hopefully you can see my thread there. There we go. Bring the hook down, and then there's like a hook on the back of the tool as well. You bring that over the top of the hook on the back of the tool. Then you put a twist in it to create, for me it's a backwards number 4. For you guys it would be a number 4 on the screen. And you want to try and maintain that right angle. Like that. And to do that, after each turn, you bring the bobbin closer. Like that. And then you bring it down. You pull down on the hook and bring the bobbin with it as well. And then you keep the tension with your hook. And then you pull the bobbin and bring the hook up to the eye. And then pull the hook out. And that's your whip finish knot. Trim away as close as you can. So there's a few things you can do here. You can leave it as it is and it will work, it just won't last very long. Or you can varnish it, or if you've got the equipment, some beginners might not have it, you can use UV resins as well. But I'm going to use varnish because most beginners would have varnish. So I'm using the varnish with the bigger brush, and we're just literally going to put a light layer over the whole thing. There's nothing particularly clever or subtle about it, just literally slather it on with normally a single brush stroke. You want to cover a little bit of the hook at the base of the fly as well to stop it rusting underneath. And that's pretty much it. You might need a couple more coats after that and it would be done. So there we are, that's the basic buzzer. It employs most of the basic methods that you need to learn as a fly tyer, and also it catches a lot of fish because it comprises quite a large percentage of a trout's diet in Stillwater. Thank you all very much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye for now.